Hi, this is Neil Walters with HebrewGarden.com, and today I've generated for you an AI storybook. And it's not just made for kids, it's made for any adult or child who wants to learn Hebrew, basically. So I'm going to play the book as it is, and since it's AI generated, you might notice a few problems with it. And so make a note of them and put them in the comments below what you think's wrong with it. And then after the storybook is played, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and kind of read it to you again in a slower mode and actually explain some of the key vocabulary words that I want you to get out of it, okay? So let us begin.
שולחן השבת של דן ותמר. בערב שבת, דן ותמר עזרו לערוך את השולחן. מה זה, אמא? שאלה תמר, והחזיקה מפה לבנה. זאת מפת שולחן, אמרה אמא. מפה מיוחדת לשבת. אני אשים את הצלחות, אמר דן. הוא הניח בזהירות צלחת גדולה לאבא, צלחת לאמא, ושתי צלחות קטנות לעצמו ולתמר. אחר כך, תמר הניחה את הסכו"ם. זה מזלג, היא אמרה, ושמה מזלג ליד הצלחת. וזה סכין, היא הוסיפה, והניחה סכין. וגם כף למרק. אבא נכנס עם ספרי התפילה. הנה הברכון, הוא אמר, ונתן אחד לדן ואחד לתמר. אנחנו משתמשים בברכון כדי לשיר שירים לשבת. הגיע הזמן להדליק נרות. אמא הוציאה קופסה קטנה. מה יש בקופסה? שאל דן. אלה גפרורים, אמרה אמא. כדי להדליק את הנרות. אמא הדליקה את הנרות היפים. הנרות ריצדו, ואור חם מילא את החדר. שבת שלום, אמרו כולם. לארוחת הערב היה אוכל טעים. אני אוהב עוף, אמר דן, ולקח חתיכה של עוף. ואני אוהבת דג, אמרה תמר, והצביעה על הדג. היו גם ירקות צבעוניים לכולם. אחרי הארוחה, הגיע הזמן למשהו מתוק. מה יש לקינוח? שאלו דן ותמר יחד. אמא הביאה עוגת שוקולד טעימה. דן ותמר ידעו את קל המילים של שולחן השבת. הם הרגישו מאוד גדולים. זאת הייתה ארוחת השבת הכי טובה. שבת שלום.
Okay, here we have the title of the story, Shulchan HaShabbat Shel Dan v'Tamar. So this is the boy and girl's name, Dan and Tamar. So Shulchan is the table, and HaShabbat basically means the table of the Sabbath, or the Sabbath table. Okay, so I copied the letters somewhere else so I can make them a lot bigger. They're kind of small in the story, right? So Erev Shabbat, it is Friday evening, or the eve of the Sabbath. Dan v'Tamar, Dan and Tamar, Azru la'aroch, they help to prepare et hashulchan. So shulchan is the first word you should really learn. That's simple. Shulchan is the table. So they help to prepare the table. Mazeh, what is this? Mazeh, Ima, what is this? Mother, is what the girl is asking. It says Sha'ala Tamar. That means Tamar or Tamar ask. Sha'ala is feminine for she ask. Vehechzika mapalevana. Now I had to kind of guess on this word. I think based on the picture, she's grabbing or holding the tablecloth. But when you know Hebrew, you know that this is the root word is hazak, which is to be strong. The hey is a prefix that means to cause to be strong. So it's almost like she causes to be strong the tablecloth. But I think that probably means she grabs or lifts the tablecloth, maybe. Zot mapa shulchan. This is the tablecloth for the table, or the tablecloth of the table. So the word for tablecloth is mapa. The word for tablecloth is mapa. And some of you that are more into Hebrew literature, you'll know that there's a Shulchan Aruch, which is called the prepared table. And this is the word up here, la'arok, is similar to the word aruch, okay? And then that was written by Joseph Caro, and then years about the same time, Moshe Isserles, called the Ramah, he came along and wrote a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, which is called the Mapa, the tablecloth. So one rabbi wrote a book called The Tablecloth, and he put it on top of the other guy's book, which was called The Prepared Table. So just a little Jewish history there. Then we have Zot Mapa Shulchan Amara Ima, said the mother. Mapa meyuchedet l'Shabbat, a special tablecloth for Shabbat. Okay, that's the first page. Okay, page 2. Ani asim et hasalachot. Ani asim et hasalahot. I am putting the plates. Right? Asim can mean I am placing, putting. It usually means I am putting or making or doing. Sorry, but basically he's putting the plates on the table. Amar Dan, said Dan, hu hiniach bizhirut salachat gedolah la'aba, salachat le'ima, ushte salachot katanot la'atzmo ul tamar l'shabbat. Sorry, that part about Shabbat was left over from the prior slide. So, hu hiniach, he, again, placed, this time, placed. Now, when we put on tefillin in the morning, we say lehaniach tefillin, to place or put tefillin on your arm. So it's the same root word as that. Hu hiniach bizhirut, with care or very carefully, a big plate, salachat gedolah. So singular is salachat and plural is, this means the tables, hat salachot. So salachat gedolah la'aba, a big plate for father. Salachat la'ima, a plate for mother. Ushte, and two. Salachot, two plates. Katanot, two small plates. La'atzmo, for himself. Ul latamar, and for Tamar or Tamar. Okay, on the next page we have a harkach, after that, Tamar hinicha et, and this word I really don't know. It's got a double quote in it, which means it's an abbreviation for something, and that's one of the hardest things in Hebrew is how do you know what abbreviations mean? So I haven't found the exact meaning of that. I will ask some Israeli friends, and I'll put it in the comments later once I figure it out, okay? I have an idea that it means something like silverware. The other word I found for silverware was kli kesef. Like kli is a vessel, kesef or kalei kesef, vessels of silver or something like that. But that's not exactly what this says, but it fits the story. Ze mazleg, this is a fork. She actually has two forks in the picture. Ze mazleg, this is a fork. He amara, she said. The sama mazleg, and she put a fork, layad hatsalachat, and she put the fork next to the plate. When the picture, she hasn't done that yet, but she's about to, I guess. V'zeh sakin, and this is a knife. So we're talking about the knife over here. That's why I actually picked these words. I figure these are simple things you have on your table every day, so these are good words for you to know. Mazleg, fork, sakin, knife. So v'zeh sakin, and this is a knife. He hosifa, she added. Vehinicha, and she put sakin, and she placed the knife. Vegam kaf lamarak, and also a soup spoon. So the word kaf can actually mean the palm or the middle of your hand, but it's also a spoon, which is kind of cool. And the last word is lamarak, it means for soup. So it's a soup spoon, a spoon for soup. So let's review. What is this thing she has in her hand? Think and say it. Mazleg. What is this more straight thing over here? That's a sakin, a knife. And what is this? It's a kaf lamarak, a spoon for soup. Or you could just say it's a kaf, it's a spoon. Okay, next page. Abba niknas im sifrei ha-tefillah. The father, Abba, niknas, he enters, im sifrei, with books of ha-tefillah, of the prayer. So prayer books, basically. We normally call it siddurim, or as you see in a minute, they're called birchons or benchers. So he says, hine ha-birchon. So in Hebrew, birchon is from the word bracha, which means to bless. So it's birchon is like a book you use to say blessings, ha-birchon. And it's also called a bencher commonly in America. Okay, a bencher. So hu amar, he says, v'natan, and he gives, echad, one, ladan, to Dan, v'ahad, and one, latamar, to Tamar. So the lamed prefix, you might know, means two or four. He gives one, two or four Dan, and one, two or four Tamar. Anaknu, that's the pronoun we. Anaknu mishtamshim, we are using. Anaknu mishtamshim, babirchon, the bencher or the prayer book or whatever you want to call it. Kadei, in order to, lashir, to sing, shirim, songs, Shabbat, of Sabbath. This should probably be shirei. Oh, no, okay, it's songs of Sabbath. Since they have the word, well, no, normally it'd be, I think, shirei Shabbat. So they might have made a little grammar mistake here. But again, that's AI is not perfect, right? So one more time. Abba niknas im sifrei hatefillah, hine habirchon, hu amar v'natan achad ledan, ve'achad letamar, anaknu mishtamshim ba birchon, kadei lashir shirim l'shabbat. Ready for the next page? Higia hazman lahadlik nerot. It has arrived the time to light the candles. Higia. It has arrived, and then the noun or the subject is hazman. The time has arrived. Higia hazman. So the verb noun order is sometimes what we would call backwards from the English point of view. Le hadlik, to light, basically, or to enlighten. Nerot, the candles, or candles, not the candles, just nerot. So the single is ner, one candle. Nerot is plural. And it's actually a masculine noun, which you'll learn on the next page. Normally, ot is a feminine ending, but this is an exception. Ima hotsia kusakatana. Ima, mother. Hotsia, she is bringing, or what's the best word for that? Like, I don't think AI picks maybe the best word there. It kind of means to bring or to exit, depart, something like that, to cause to depart. So she's causing to depart, which, how do we translate that? Kufsa, a box, ketana, a small box. So I think it's basically she brings out a small box. Ma yesh bakufsa, what is in the box? So ma means what, yesh is there is no have in Hebrew. It's more like what is there? Bakusa, what is there in the box? Sha'al Dan, so the boy's name is Dan, remember? So Dan asked. Ele gafrurim, these are matches. Amara ima, said the mother. Kadei, in order to, we had that book on the previous page, if you remember. Kadei, in order to, or so that, in order that. La hadlik, to light, et hanerot, to light the candles. And here is poor Dan eating alone. It's like everybody left the table. They gave him the whole chicken, and he has to eat by himself. I have no idea why they did it that way. But anyway, la aruchat ha'erev, the evening meal. La aruchat ha'erev, the meal of the evening, basically, to or for the meal of the evening. Haya, there was, because we have the lamed here, there was to it. Ohel taim, very tasty, or just tasty food, or savorous or tasty food. Ani ohev, I love oaf, chicken. So you see he has a chicken in front of him. Ani ohev oaf, I love chicken. Amar Dan, said Dan. Velakach hatika shel oaf, and he took a piece of chicken. Velakach, he took. V is and. Lakach, he took. Hatika is, or haticha is a piece, shell of oaf, chicken. Very simple page there. And now what does Tamar like? She says, Va'ani ohevet dog. She says, and I like fish. So remember when the boy says ohev, he doesn't put the et on the end. The et is feminine. So va'ani ohevet is I like for a girl saying it. And ani ohev is when a boy says it. So she says va'ani ohevet dog. Amrat Tamar, says Tamar. Vehitzbiah al hadog. I think this is she points to the fish, because you can see she's pointing here. I know from my Torah readings, etzba'o is fingers, right? So she's doing something with her fingers, causing her fingers or pointing, I think, basically. The Google translator said she painted the fish, but I don't think that's quite correct. Hayugam yerachot siv onyim lekulam. Okay, some of these words I would say are not first grade Hebrew again. So she says, Hayu gam, there are also yirakot, vegetables or greens, siv oniyim, colorful, like kulam, colorful vegetables for everyone. Kulam is everyone, the prefix la means for. Okay, now it's time for dessert, and I don't think they'd actually have candles on the cake because they can't light candles. Shabbat's already started now, but anyhow. Acharei ha'arucha, after the dinner. Acharei means after. Arucha is dinner. Ha'arucha, the dinner. Higia hazman, the time arrived. So zman is time. Hazman is the time. Higia, arrived. Lamashehu, for something. Matok, sweet. So the time arrived for something sweet. Ma yesh likinuach. What is there for dessert? Ma yesh. Ma means what? Yesh is there. Le for kinuach, dessert. Sha'alu Dan v'Tamar yachad. Ask Dan and Tamar together. So Sha'alu, they ask Dan, the boy, v'Tamar, the girl, yachad, together. Ima hevia ugat shokolad te'ima. So mother brought, Ima hebia, she brought, okay, the word for cake is uga, and when a feminine noun singular becomes the cake of, you add the T on the end. Ugat means cake of chocolate, and chocolade sounds a lot like our word in English, chocolate, right? Chocolade, so that's what we call cognate. Te'ima, tasty or delicious. So mother brought a delicious chocolate cake, or a cake of chocolate delicious. And congratulations, you made it to the last page of our story. Dan v'Tamar, Dan and Tamar, yada'u, they knew, et kol hamilim, all the words, shel shulhan, of the table of Shabbat, shulhan ha-Shabbat. So Dan v'Tamar yada'u et kol hamilim shel shulchan ha-Shabbat. Haim hirgishu me'od gedulim. So that I had to actually look up that word. Hirgishu was... Okay, I think that sentence basically means they were deeply moved or greatly moved. I'm not sure it's 100% correct. Ham hirgishu, they were moved. Me'od gedolim. I don't know if they would use the word, well, it sounds like big or large, but they were greatly moved, I think, is what they're trying to say here. I'm not sure that Hebrew is correct. Zot haita arucha. So zot haita, this was. Zot is feminine for this, referring back to the Shabbat or the table. Haita aruchat, maybe not the table. Table might be masculine. So zot is probably the Shabbat. Zot haita aruchat. Oh, the meal. Arucha is feminine. So this was the meal of Shabbat. Aruchat ha-Shabbat. This was the meal of Shabbat. Haki tova. Basically the best. So haki is kind of like an intensifier of the word tov. Tova. Tov is masculine. Tova is feminine singular. And haki means the most. So like it was the most good. So zot haita, this was the meal of Shabbat, basically the best. The most good is, in English we say the best. And then it just says Shabbat Shalom. So that concludes the story. How well did you do? Now what you can do now is just go back to the beginning and listen to it in Hebrew. And I know that lady speaks kind of fast, but that's how you develop a more authentic Hebrew accent. And I tried to read kind of slow and deliberately when I'm trying to teach you. And I'm sure I do have an American accent. But anyway, I hope this has been very useful to you. Let me know what your kids think. Can you sit down with this and actually show it to your kids and teach them something? Let me know in the comments. And this is Neil Walters from Hebrew-Garden.com, where you can learn how to read the letters. And I actually wrote stories like this actually about 20 years ago in a subproduct on that website called Hebrew Kindergarten. And I did use simple words like basically like a similar boy and a girl, I forget their names, but they were looking for the red ball. And it just kept using words over and over so kids can learn, like, where is the red ball? I don't know where the red ball is. Do you know where the red ball is? Maybe the red ball is in the living room. Let's go look in the living room for the red ball. And anyway, it kind of talks like what's that? Those words, those reader books like, It escapes me right now. Not Jack and Jill, but those little readers. Oh, see somebody run. Man, I'm forgetting everything. But it was like see Jack run or something like that. So it's like a reader type story, very similar to what these storybooks are like. So if you like this format, again, let me know, and maybe I'll do a whole series of these. The question is, how fast can I kick them out, and how good is the Hebrew? Is it good enough, or do we have too many Hebrew mistakes in here? But I think the main thing you can learn from this story is some of the keywords like nerot, candles, mazleg, fork, kaf or kaf marak is spoon or soup spoon. We had sakin was a knife, salachat salachat was a plate. We had the word aruch that they arranged the table. We had chocolate cake, uga chocolada. We had fish, dog, and we had chicken, oaf. So those are some of the key words I want you to get out of this story. Hope you like it. And if it's Shabbat for you, Shabbat Shalom. Otherwise, have a great week.